Hi everybody, and welcome back to Kevin's Upfront Opinion today. So today I thought I'd speak about Nottingham Forest. As you can see, I'm a Forest supporter. Okay, a lot of people who see me and speak to me say, oh, Forest are doing well this season. You know, they could get Champions League football or European football next season. And the way I look at it is can they? Yes, they can, Mathematically, it's doable. We've got 8 games left in the season. And as things stands at the moment, off from 5th place, we're 6 points clear of them. Which means, mathematically, if Manchester City win every single game, because they're in 5th place at the moment, we need to win 6 games. Can we do that? Technically, there's no reason why. We've had a good season so far as a team. Are we likely to? That you could arguably say that's debatable. Okay, so I thought I'd take a look at, is it possible that Nottingham Forest could end up getting Champions League football? Do they deserve it? Okay. And what do they need to do to prepare for next season if they were to get Champions League football? So, when it comes to it, we've got 6 games left. Okay, so in the season, we've got Aston Villa today. Could we get a win there? Possibly. More likely to be a draw. I hope nobody watches this video before this result comes out. Christ's sake, if I get this wrong. We've got Everton. Potentially there's a win there. We got Tottenham away. I would suggest we're probably not going to win that. Okay. Got FA Cup after that. Then we got Brentford at home. We could win that. That's 2 wins. Crystal Palace away. 50-50. I'll say yes, we should win that. There's 3. And this is being realistic. Leicester at home. We should win that. That's 4. Then you come to the last 2 games of the season. West Ham away. Depends what West Ham turns up. So I'm going to... They have turned their season around since they changed their manager. I don't know what way to really say. I'll say, yeah, we should win that. And then Chelsea at home, last game of the season. So basing it on that, I've got 5 wins. Which means... you got to hope Man City and Newcastle are just behind them as well, do not win the rest of our games based on that. So is it still possible with getting 5 wins? Yeah, it's theoretically possible if Newcastle and Man City drop points. That's the reality of it. Now, the thing is, do they deserve it? And this is the way I look at it. To put yourself in the position that they are at the moment, based on this season, then obviously they deserve it. They've got the results. But the other side of the coin to look at, and especially if you look at the table, you've got to look at the teams that have slipped up and underperformed. Manchester City have. Newcastle have. Manchester United. What do you say about Manchester United in 13th? Okay. And Tottenham have, who are in 14th. There's 4 teams there, that I just run off the top of my head by looking at the table, that should easily be ahead of Forest. And there's no arguments. Doesn't matter if I'm a Forest supporter or not, they should hands down be way ahead and be outperforming Nottingham Forest as things stands. Okay, and all 4 of them teams, you could put an argument for, in most seasons, should be in the top 4, if not top 5 or 6. Okay, now if you look at Forest last season, lucky to avoid not getting relegated, same as the season before, but he's turned it around. But what's he actually done to turn it around? And I would say it's quite simple. And I've always looked at what George Graham did when he went to Arsenal and what people say he did at Arsenal. Because the reality of what George Graham did was he worried about the defence. Didn't worry about attack, because it's the old theory at the end of the day. If you can stop goals going in the back of your net, it should always be the first thing you worry about. Have you got a decent defence? Have you got a decent keeper? If you've got a decent keeper and a decent back four, and they can keep clean sheets, okay. The argument is, you got a chance of picking up points, because then all you've got to worry about is scoring one goal. Okay, and if you've got half decent strike or decent attacking players, you've got a decent chance, and that's what Nuno's done this season. He sorted out the defence, he improved it. You know, he got an extra centre back in, and that defensive solidity is what has stood Nottingham Forest in good stead this season. Because the reality is, when you look at the defence, you know, how many goals they've conceded, only Arsenal, I'm just double checking it, only Arsenal and Liverpool have conceded less goals than them. Chelsea have conceded more. Man City have conceded more. Newcastle have conceded more. This actually surprises me, yeah. Even Bournemouth have had a good defence this season. They've only conceded 38. So the reality is, what's done well for Nottingham Forest, it's not scoring goals, it's not conceding goals, because you put yourself in a good place and a good position, and you only need one goal at the end of the day. Yes, they've done well up front with Chris Wood, and then on the wings with Alanga and Callum Hudson-Odoi. You know, they're fantastic flair players with a lot of pace, who will scare the living hell out of fullbacks by running straight at them. But that is the one thing and the smart thing that he did, that no other Nottingham Forest manager's done. No manager, if you look at the bottom three, really did when they came up. Because if you look at Ipswich, just worried about attack. Southampton, well, I won't even talk about it, it's my hometown team. Okay, and Leicester the same. None of them are worried about defence. You just got to look at the amount of goals that they're conceding. And that's what Forest have done. And that's what's kept them strong, you know. And it's no difference to the way that Italian teams used to play. It was all about defence. You know, so that's what's done well for them. Now, the reality is, if they were to get Champions League football, or even go into one of the other European competitions, what do they need to do going forward? What do Nottingham Forest, as a team and a squad, because it's more than just 11 players at the end of the day, what do they need to be able to cope? Because if you take a look at it, when Newcastle went in, they struggled. Yes, they had injuries, but they struggled because they never really improved their squad. Aston Villa, same problem. Yet they're still in the top 7, okay. But most Aston Villa supporters will openly admit Aston Villa have struggled this season because of taking on the extra competition. So, what do Nottingham Forest need to do? And this is the way I look at it. One, because you're going to have to look at properly the whole team. Okay, I would suggest probably they're going to need another goalkeeper, backup goalkeeper, decent goalkeeper. This is a fundamental risk they're going to lose a right back. So they're probably going to need another decent right back. I would suggest they're going to need another decent centre back. Not going to worry about left back at the moment. I would suggest that there is a risk of losing both of our flying wingers because of how well they've done. So you might end up having to get backups for them or replacements. Somebody in the centre of midfield. Okay. Somebody as a backup to our number 10, Morgan Gibbs-White, because there's a risk that we could end up losing him. And the one thing that you most definitely need is a backup for Chris Wood. Because is he going to be able to continually play the amount of games that he does. You know, Wanye, fantastic player, but he doesn't really get the goals, and he is extremely injury prone. So I would say they're going to have to go and get another striker. Now that is a lot of money, because how much do decent strikers cost nowadays? You know, look at Arsenal. They can't even get a striker. And look at the amount of money that they have. So if you take it for all them positions, you know, you're talking about serious money. You're probably talking the best part of 200 million plus to get decent quality. Are they capable of doing that? Yeah, I would suggest they are. You know, they got the pedigree, they got the brand name at the end of the day. You know, because people always talk about, you know, they won the league all them years ago, came straight up, won the league straight away, won back-to-back European titles, Super Cup, all of that at the end of the day. But the one fundamental problem that Nottingham Forest do not have is strength and depth. And that's why I always say, I hope they don't get Europe next season, because I don't want to see them struggle again like they have over the last couple of years. You know, and everything is a building process at the end of the day. And do I want to see them get in financial problems because of the amount of money that they would potentially face having to spend, unless they do what they have done in recent years, and they've done very well, a bit like Brighton have, and raid the South American market. Because if you take, for instance, our fullback, paid next to no money for him, and we would probably make a massive profit on him. Danilo, probably the same as well. You know, so if we were going to do it, we probably wouldn't be able to go and raid the European market to get the players in that we would require. We would probably have to go and raid the South American market and get the next big thing, whether it's the next Messi or whoever. That's what we'd probably be able to do. But would they be an instant result? I very much doubt it. So what I'm going to say for now is, let us know what you think. What do Nottingham Forest realistically, be realistic, okay, do they have a good chance, and should they actually qualify for Champions League football? And how many positions do you think, or who do you think that they should get if they were, that they would need to go into that team, which would be within their affordability? Because let's not be stupid. They're not going to go and get Haaland and pay the ridiculous amount of wages he's going to get. You know, what is realistically affordable for Nottingham Forest to get? Because remember, they've only got like a 30,000 seat stadium roughly. I can't remember the exact size, but it's only around about 30,000. So what is going to be realistic for them if they were to qualify for the Champions League next season? So let us know in the comments down below. But for now, thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you again a bit later.